This is a guided message. This is an important message. Shout out to my beautiful friend Adore Me, who inspired me to bring this message to light today. I was going to save this message for another time, but she tapped right into that energy for me today, kind of opened it up for me a little bit to get into it. And we are going to honor her along with all the other beautiful, divine, feminine energy that I have surrounded myself with. Hey, Raquel, peace and prosperity to you. And we're about to get deep into it. So I'm going to give about another 30 seconds before I get started. Everyone, make sure you get settled in. It's going to be deep. 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 So I'm actually not going to be doing a lot of move around this time. Thank you so much. Peace and prosperity to everyone. Oh, yeah. We got we'll get ourselves up against this beautiful tree. We got our crystals with us. We got the sage cleansing over us. Before I get started, or as I get started, I just want everyone to think about that one person or that one moment. I want everyone to take a second now to think about that one person or that one moment where you expected to be embraced. You expected forgiveness. Peace and prosperity. Thank you so much for coming in, Alan. I want everyone to take a moment to think about that one person, that one moment where you expected forgiveness and you didn't get it. And that moment that may have put you down a trajectory to change your life. We're going to dive into that right now. And I'm going to, of course, use myself as an example. It's time to get started. With my mother. The mother wound is very important because a lot of us, as we go through life, we have this safety net. We have this safety net that we call our parents. And as they are the ones who brought us into this world, we expect no matter what we do when we arrive here, we assume and expect that no matter what we do when we arrive here, that the people who brought us here are going to love us, accept us, appreciate us, celebrate us, no matter what happens, no matter what we go through, no matter what our journey is. We expect, and even some cases demand, that love from them. I'm going to use myself as an example and give my story on how and why this is not the case, so that we can understand and appreciate people for who they really are, so that we can kind of take them off of that pedestal that sometimes we put our loved ones on. Michelle, I love you. Loyal, I love you. That we sometimes put our loved ones on. And sometimes when we put them on that pedestal, it prevents us from seeing them for who they are. It prevents us from recognizing that they are human just like us. And tonight we're going to talk about that. Tonight we're going to dive deep into it. I will use myself as the example as always. And so I'm going to start this story with a little history about myself. For those who don't know, I grew up a Jehovah Witness. And as a Jehovah Witness, it is a very closed religion um, that dives into Christianity in its own way. It is one where people are kind of isolated from the world, as we are given the impression that that is the way God wants us to live. And my entire family on my mother's side, as I grew up, um, the first of many grandkids. My mother had me when she was 15 years old, turning 16, and we grew up under the guise of her father, my grandfather, and they were had been witnesses for years. So I was raised to be a witness. I was raised to be um, a very a very prevalent witness. And because of the speaking power and voice that I have, it was meant to be in their minds that I would be a pastor for the witnesses for the rest of my days. And I was groomed for that at a very young age, where I would be using my speaking voice to benefit the witnesses and benefit their mission. It did not work out that way, obviously. And so, what I had to deal with, and what this story is going to talk about, is how I had to recognize that the perception I had of my own mother to forgive me for my changes, to love me despite my journey, to accept me in my journey, was not meant for her. And that if I did not forgive her for that, then I would miss out on a beautiful connection that we would have now today. And so let's talk about it. Again, I grew up a Jehovah Witness. It was an important thing for us to be in a certain type of lifestyle, and I always rejected that lifestyle. Me and my mother always clashed because of these things, and it was just an ongoing thing. We both learned how to love and appreciate each other despite these things, and as life went on, we were able to hold on to what connection we thought we both had, although it may not have been genuine. It was good enough for us, and for a lot of the people who surrounded us, it was good enough for them as well. When I went through my spiritual transformation, or as some like would call it, the dark night of soul, and to explain that in detail without the grammar references or without the slang terms, I had what most would consider a midlife crisis. In my mid 30s, I had a whole midlife crisis. I was a I worked for Delta Airlines. I was a manager at one of our call centers there in Atlanta, Georgia. I was making over $100,000 a year. I was the man. I was the boss. I was all these things, and I was very big in my community under the life that I had built on behalf of both the witnesses, my grandparents, and my mother. I had designed my whole life to impress my mother. I had designed my whole life to impress my grandfather, to impress all the people back home in Flint, to show them that all of the investments that they made in me were right, to show them that everything that they believed in when they deemed me to be the chosen one, when they deemed me to be the one who would take our family line to another direction or to a further direction, that I was that person, that I would always be that person for them. And so that created a lot of pressure in my life. My father was going through his trials and tribulations. So I grew up in a single mother household where I was the man of the house from the very beginning. And of course, I had a lot of pressure on me because of this. This all led to my midlife crisis, as I mentioned, where I literally, due to um, I gotta be TikTok friendly when I say this, due to rugs and extensive partying and extensive bad decisions, I lost everything. And when I say I lost everything, I lost my home, I lost my cars, I lost everything, I lost my family, I lost everything. And that was God's way of putting me in a reset to say, you built this life based on what others wanted for you, based on what people told you to be, and now I need you to start over. Fast forward years later, absolutely. Fast forward years later, I have now come to terms with understanding that everything I lost, I can build back. All the people who now hated me and felt betrayed by me because I had let go of the mission that everyone had deemed upon me since birth, the mission that everyone had told me that I was meant to follow in God's path. I had to learn to appreciate that a lot of them felt betrayed by me because realistically they had put a lot of energy and time and effort into my journey to see that I would become the man that they had all imagined me to be, but none more so than my mother. And so for me, I had got to a point where I was very much okay with letting everything go, letting everyone go. I was okay with not going to the family reunions anymore. I was okay with not talking to my cousins who I had spoke to all my life. I was okay with with letting everybody go as long as I had my mom. I'm like, as long as she understands, as long as she can appreciate my journey and believe in me, I'll be fine. That was me putting her on that pedestal of understanding. I had came through her wound, and I felt that no matter what I did in life, no matter what decisions I made, that she will always love me, she will always forgive me, she will always understand, because this is my mother. This is my mother, my last living parent. I believed and knew in my heart that she would be the one to understand. Well, as I mentioned, I was homeless. I had lost everything. And so it got to a point where I had to ask for some help. And so, specifically, of course, I was forced to ask her for help. Was a very uncomfortable thing, but for her, all she wanted for me was, in her mind, to stop this mental breakdown that I had had, that caused me to step away from the journey that my grandparents had set me on, that she had set me on, and come back to the fold. Meaning, all you have to do to get my help is be a Jehovah Witness again. That was her only stipulation. All I need you to do is be a Jehovah Witness again, and all will be forgiven. We'll get you this, we'll get you that, we'll get you this, get you that. Everything you need, we will take care of you as long as you be a Jehovah Witness again. In my mind at that time, I said to myself, like, okay, I know that's not an option for me now. And it's not that I have anything against religions of any kind or anyone who is, but that was not my journey. That was not what I was meant to do. And so I, in my mind, was like, okay, well, I'm gonna first get there so I can get off the streets, because I, at the time, I was literally, I had lost my car, so I wasn't sleeping in my car anymore, and I was literally sleeping outside and wherever I could, and doing whatever I could to survive. I was, doing whatever I had to do to survive. We won't get too deep into that part of the topic right now. And so when I got there to Flint, I had a discussion with her, and in my mind and my heart, I'm like, okay, let me build up the strength to tell her how I really feel. Let me build up the strength to explain to her how this process is actually going to take me away from my journey, to be forced back into being a Jehovah Witness, and to be forced back into this trauma filled arena that had caused me a lot of stress. It has surrounded me by different essay things that happen, and keyword essay, because of course we are on TikTok, so I have to be cautious with my wording. It has surrounded me by a lot of mistreatment. It surrounded me in this isolated energy that, in my opinion, had tormented me and really kind of stopped my light. But again, in my mind, in my heart, I'm like, well, my mom will understand, because that's my mother, right? And if I could take a second and break it a story and just explain, we all come into the world through our parents. We all have that expectation of them, because they are the ones who carry us through life when we cannot carry ourselves. In this moment in life, I emotionally, mentally, spiritually felt like I could not carry myself. I had a breakdown that allowed me to lose everything, to have this whole world that I had built turn its back on me. But I admittedly expected too much of my own mother to not feel the same way, to not respond the way that others did, because this, again, is my mother. Her point of view was, my son has obviously had some type of mental illness, to step away from God. And so I, as his mother, despite what I want or don't want, am going to reach out to him, and I'm going to help him with this mental illness through the Bible, through the Jehovah Witnesses. We will use this energy to cleanse him of whatever negativity he's gone through, whatever mental illness he's gone through, to assume that there's a way in life without going down this path. And so when we came to a point of clashing, it was devastating for me when I had revealed to her about all the different essay things that had happened in association with me being a witness, all the different um, problematic feelings that had developed because of it. And although I knew enough to not per se blame her for that, because again, she had me when she was 15 years old. It really, although I had my parents although I had my mom and my uncles and aunts to be there for me, none of them were in position to per se protect me from the same people and same group that they felt would be protective to me. The same very long talk explaining everything. It became at some point it became a bit of a shouting match because for her, I was not only being disrespectful to her to say I didn't want to be a witness anymore, but I was being disrespectful to her to make these accusations about family, about these associations in reference to the essay things I had been through and been involved in. And that for her made her feel betrayed. That for her made her feel like a bad mother. It made her feel as if she had did something wrong when all she was doing was connecting me to what she had been connected to her whole life. Her examples was, look at the life that I have built thanks to Jehovah. Look at the life that I have built thanks to the congregation. Using herself as an example to try to reason with me on how I was wrong about what I had experienced and what I had been through. Her reasoning was, look at yourself now. At this very moment, you have nothing. You're here in my house after losing everything, after losing your marriage, after losing everything you own and all this beautiful things and all the money you made. You lost everything and you stand here now and you want to tell me that you don't want to be a witness anymore because of this, this, and that, when this created a life for me that I love and appreciate. That was a major, major blow for me at the time because I understood how for her, her being a witness was the right journey for her. I understood how she had developed a life as a young girl who went through judgment and went through all these different things and still made something of herself regardless with that association that congregation that her parents everything surrounding her family in regards to being a witness was extremely beneficial to her. So in her mind, again, it was lunacy to imagine that her son, the firstborn of the grandchildren of this beautiful illustrious family, that somehow some way it must be something wrong with you to have a different experience. It must be something wrong with you to not experience what I've experienced, the peace and calm that I have in my home. And I'm looking at the proof of that when I look at you not having anything immaterial. You lost your home, you lost your job, you were making hundred thousands of dollars a year, you lost that. You had all this freedom, you had all this power, you lost all of it, and you sit here and tell me that you don't want to be a witness again so that you can try to gain that back. The conflict went on for a while, and eventually I had a breakdown, and I ended up having to leave her home. And briefly, in the care of my aunt, her sister, um, I was able to just kind of tie things together and explaining to her as well, like, this and this happened. Again, I can't go into too many details because um, this topic is not about what I experienced leading up to that. It's about forgiveness and understanding why, regardless of her reaction, why it was important for me to forgive her, regardless of her feelings and her journey, why it was important for me to forgive her. Because realistically, if I can allow forgiveness in my heart for her, this is what I'm telling myself. If I can allow forgiveness in my heart for her, if I can let go of the fact that I expected that embrace from her, if I can let go of the fact that I had her on this pedestal, that she would be the one to save my heart, save my feelings, even if the whole world was against me. If I can let go of that, I can learn to love and appreciate her for who she is. And she was a 15-year-old girl who built up a amazing life for herself. She was a 15-year-old girl who became an author, a banker, a construction worker. She was not just a hustler, she was intelligent. She has an amazing sense of humor, and she is amazingly accomplished. If I could tag myself to the forgiveness instead of being so focused on what I expected from her, if I can tag myself to the forgiveness instead of worrying so much about what I feel like I lost from her, then I can appreciate how amazing of a woman she is. I can be proud of her books. I can be proud of her accomplishments without the heartache. I can love and appreciate her for who she is without attaching the negative energy from my journey onto her. Moving forward, when after the arguments and the blow ups, after everything had I had put everything out on the table. I talked about everything that had happened again, from the essay events, from the childhood traumas. I laid it all out on the table. And again, what I expected in my mind. I remember in my mind manifested in, or at least attempting to manifest in my mind, how she would react when I told her these things. Right? In my mind, I'm like, she got to know that this and that happened anyway, because she was around when this happened. She has to know that I was a part of this event because other people had mentioned it to her, or at least I had assumed that she would be aware of these events because I had thought other family members had mentioned to her, because I wasn't the only family member involved in some of these problematic childhood traumas. And so I never thought I would have to try to prove myself that these things had happened. I never thought that I would have to give evidence to these things. I'm like, this is my mother. She's going to believe me just because I'm telling her this. This is my mother. She carried me for 9 months. She's going to believe it and know in her heart that her son went through these things, and she is going to embrace me. I'm going to get that hug from her I want. I'm going to get her to tell me that it's going to be okay. We're going to work through this. And I got quite the opposite. I got quite the opposite. She was hurt. She felt betrayed. I was initially considered to be a liar, that the things I had said happened were lies, or embellished upon. I was she was under the impression that I was lying, that I was mentally ill. She thought, well, um you're probably on that grass, and so everything you're saying is manipulated. Everything you're saying is for attention. Everything you're saying could not have happened, because if that was the case, if those things had happened, then that would make me a less than of a mother. That would mean that I didn't do my job. She was in that moment, rightfully so, as any human being should, dealing with that trauma and that feeling that she had not did the job that she thought she had. And again, this is all major adjustment for her, because a year before this conversation, again, her son was this big guy in Atlanta for Delta Airlines, making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, traveling the world, doing all these different things that she was proud of. She had, in her mind at that point, she had succeeded by doing all the things in life to give me a way to be successful, and she had did that. So now, a year later, after I've lost everything, and I'm standing in her home telling her about all these childhood traumas, in her mind, I was insane. In her mind, she was betrayed, she was feeling lied to, she was feeling like she was being manipulated. And she rejected me. She rejected the notions of everything I said. She rejected the notions of everything I was talking about, and in itself pushed me away as well. That was her defending herself. That was her defending her way of life. It took me a long time to forgive and understand that a lot of people in that circumstance would have reacted the same way. Sometimes forgiveness is not just forgiving yourself and others, but recognizing how and why. How can I not forgive her for feeling that way when, again, her life was completely different? How can I not forgive her for feeling that way when she's developed this entire life surrounded by the things that caused me pain and they gave her love and appreciation? How can I not expect her to feel indifferent to what I feel when we were essentially raised completely differently? I had to step outside of myself and recognize and appreciate that she had did the best she could, and not only that she did the best she could, but that her journey was different. It was not designed for that level of healing at that time. I quite literally, although I was searching for healing, and although I had placed her on this pedestal to expect her to understand and appreciate what I was going through, and to embrace me despite her own upbringing, to embrace me despite her own beliefs, I expected that from her because she is my mother. I was wrong for that expectation. That's the truth. And I know it's a hard truth because for a lot of us, again, we're born of our mother and father. We, regardless if we have them in our life or we don't have them in our life, we have an expectation for them. And that expectation is at the very least love and understanding. The ability to go to them no matter what's happening in the world and get that love and understanding that was given to us when we got life when we came here. Now, in the same breath, I want us to think about that idea in comparison to when we wake up in the morning and we thank God for waking up. Compare that to the same feeling that you have when you thank God when you wake up in the morning. Now, when we thank God when we wake up in the morning, we're not going to necessarily say, I thank God for these bills. I thank God for these traumas. I thank God for this. I thank God for that. We may not necessarily go to that point, but we will at least say, I thank God for waking me up in the morning. That is all the consideration we should be offering to our parents, regardless if they are there or not, because we would not be here otherwise. Whether they are there, whether they were a current, whether they understand, anything beyond that, we are putting an expectation on them that is not deserving of them. It is not deserving of them because they are human just like us. They have a journey and a mission just like us. And just like the people we meet on the street and all the people we may impact in our lives or impact us, their journey is going to be different. Their responses are going to be different. It took a lot of strength for me to let go of what I felt was rejection at that time, and to be able to rebuild a relationship with her, not based on me putting her on a pedestal and expecting this energy from her that she could not give because of who she was and what she had been through, but to recognize and appreciate her for everything else she had did. Again, this was a 15-year-old girl who built an entirely beautiful life for us, for me and my sister, and still is loving and in the best possibility in her greatest capacity still to this day. Still to this day. If I can let go of this expectation, if I can let go of 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 my assumptions on how she's supposed to treat me, or how she's supposed to embrace me, or how I expect this forgiveness moment to have been, then I could just look at her for who she is, which is an amazing, amazing woman who worked hard her entire life to do the best she could to provide for her children and did a damn good job at it. A damn good job at it. The moral outlooks, the hard work, the impact, her sense of humor, her ideals is all so beautiful that I personally, if I didn't forgive her and forgive myself, forgive her for being who she is and not who I expected her to be. Forgive her for being who she is and not who I expected her to be. To forgive her for being who she is and not who I expected her to be allows me to love and appreciate her for who she is. To forgive myself for the expectations, to forgive myself without anyone's help allowed me to be stronger as well. It allowed me to let that go, to drop that bag of resentment and to appreciate what I had, to appreciate everything around me and be able to build from the inside out. That is what forgiveness is really about. And I promise you this, when you learn to forgive your parents for the things that you may have lost or feel like you have lost, or if they weren't in your life for any and every reason, because there's many of them, especially for us here in America, we've had wars and traumas surrounding us. If you were born in the 80s or 90s like myself, you've had the war of drugs. I said it. You've had the war of drugs. You've had the war of poverty, all surrounding us as we grew up. And these adults who were responsible for bringing you to the world had to deal with that directly. They had to deal with that directly. And this is not about making excuses for anyone. This is about understanding. This is about putting yourself in others' shoes for a moment and recognizing that, you know what? I cannot fit those shoes. That's not my journey. If I love myself and I love my own journey, I don't need to compare it to my friends. I don't need to compare it to my neighbors. I don't need to compare it to my siblings. And I definitely don't need to compare my journey to my parents. My journey is my own. I can live in and embrace my journey the moment I let go of the expectations of the others' journeys around me. I want us to think about that when we think about forgiveness. I want us to understand how powerful it will allow you to be. We cannot live in this world with the expectations of what someone else should and should not do for us. We can't, because no matter how much someone loves us, no matter how much we expect love to come to us in the way we want it to come to us, that is us projecting onto them. Even if what we are projecting onto them we deem as positive, or even if others deem it as positive, we are projecting onto them to tell someone else how they should forgive you, to tell someone else how they should treat you. No one is guaranteed to treat you any way differently than what their journey is meant to do. It is up for us to grow and understand from that. All our parents are required to do is get us here, to get us onto this planet, and that is it. As a parent, I definitely want to be a part of my daughter's life. I definitely want to use what I've experienced to not have judgment on her no matter what she goes through. Because again, her journey is completely different from mine. Her connection to God is going to be completely different than my own. It is important for me to tap into that energy, not just to be there for her, but for her to be there for herself so that she can gain that strength and understanding at an early age and then deal with other things in life that she'll have to deal with that I can't control and can't stop. My mother was amazing. And although I felt betrayed, just like she felt betrayed, that was a misunderstanding and us projecting onto each other. She was projecting onto me, I was projecting onto her. The moment I tapped into forgiveness, to let that go, to let go of that expectation, I was able to start to heal our relationship, to heal our journey, so that me and her can enjoy each other for who we are. There are things and connections with me and her that I can talk about that I can't talk about with nobody else. That only she understands because of our connection. And it's not based on the expectations. It's not based on right or wrong. It's based on just the understanding that this person is like me in this way and I'm like her in that way. The same way I connect with y'all, the same way we connect with each other. I don't put the expectations on anyone to love me the way I expect to be loved. That allows me to appreciate you all for who you are. And it hopefully allows you to appreciate me for who I am. That is what forgiveness will do for you. It will allow you to have gratitude in that now moment. That is what forgiveness will do for you. And I promise you, if you can start, just like we talk about shadow work, and the shadow work always goes back to our childhood, right? If you can start with the forgiveness of the parents for whatever expectations you may have set for them, especially for us parents who say to ourselves, I'll never do that the way my mom did. I'll never do that the way my dad did. Let that go. Let that go. And I promise you, if you have nothing left to connect to them other than the fact that you are thankful that you are here because of them, then that is good enough. That is good enough. And I promise you, that is all you need. Just to love and forgive and appreciate for just being here is enough. That's enough. If you can have more, good. If you can't, it's okay. I understand. I understand. I understand. I lost my father. Say that word on here. I lost my father to him unaliving himself the day before my 19th birthday. I understand that our parent wounds, and for those who inspired me today, I love you, adore me. I appreciate you. It's no coincidence that we're tapping into this energy because it is a powerful energy to have to forgive those may have wronged us. And I promise you, if you can start with them, it's going to make a lot of other connections that much easier to deal with. For those who've been wronged by your significant other, it's going to make that connection a lot easier to deal with. For those who've been wronged in other social aspects, maybe in work or maybe in friendships, I promise you, you start there first. You start with that forgiveness of self, and with parents, it's going to make those other connections that much easier to deal with. It's going to make that process that much stronger. And just like with anything else in life, it takes practice, it takes effort, it takes work. You build it like a muscle inside of you. The same way you're doing push ups, the same way my brother Jay is doing planks. You want to build that muscle of forgiveness in your body. Start with the heavy weight of the parents. Start with that first. Start with that forgiveness energy inside you first so that you can then run forward with it. And I promise you, it's going to make all other connections that much easier. I hope and expect people to find this message so that they can work on that forgiveness for themselves. Not just the people here, but for the millions of people who will see this message down the road on YouTube. I open myself as a vessel of love to display my own journey. And although I know every single person listening to me right now, I know your journey is different. I know you will also understand and find a way to resonate for yourself on how you can use the same healing forgiveness energy for yourself. You will be able to recognize how that forgiven energy will benefit you. So, although your journey may be completely different from mine, I know you'll feel this energy. I know you'll be able to find a way to start working toward forgiveness for yourself if you're able to listen to this message. And that's all I want. Because I'm not going to judge you for your journey or how you do things or how you make your decisions. All I want you to do is love yourself. And I want to be an example of how that works, of how that can benefit you out so people can resonate with it and attach themselves to their own forgiveness. Don't just listen to what I've said today. There's a piece of this message that you can resonate and look at yourself and say, you know what? There is someone I need to forgive to better myself. And it may, in most of our cases, start with parents or grandparents. And I promise you, if you can forgive them for whatever it is that you feel like they did wrong, for whatever response they gave you that you felt like wasn't what you needed or what you wanted, I promise you, if you can forgive that, you will be able to forgive anything. You will be able to gain such a great strength from working through that level of forgiveness that you will be able to accomplish anything, anything, anything. I love y'all. I feel y'all loving energy. I want y'all to understand I share these things so that we can all benefit. It's a very human thing to do in Tyson. Let me read it out loud what you said. We need to normalize not expecting you and others. We need to normalize it. It's such a human thing to do, but it's a great strength when we start to realize it. And again, I don't want anybody even now to compare their journey to mine, because this is my real life account. And I know it was deep. I know it was deep, but we all are deep and powerful beings. If I can utilize forgiveness, so can you.